Hello, I'm Tiffany Parker on Meeko TV, owner and founder of Tiffany Parker PR, and the founder of the Billionaire Network.
What's the one thing about you that no one would believe?
The one thing about me that nobody ever believes is that I've been driving since I was 9 years old. I had to, out of necessity, out of that's what my family does, and that's it.
What's the craziest risk you've ever taken?
Leaving my corporate job at Baylor College of Medicine, I was selling prenatal tests, right? and I just finished the Rodney Hampton celebrity basketball game, and we had R. Kelly as a guest, and he was like, "I would love for you to come back to Chicago with me and put one of these on for me." And I did, and it was very risky. I couldn't believe that he could afford to fly me in, have a car pick me up, actually put me up in a hotel, which was very risky because when I got to the hotel, they didn't have my name on the room. And I was just like, you know what, forget it. I'll go back home because he probably can't afford it. And he shows up with 4 or 5 luxury vehicles, gets out, and pretty much puts me in the most expensive suite in the building. And, I worked there for him for a very short period of time, less than 2 years, but it was risky and it paid off because it taught me a lot about myself. It taught me a lot about my people, and it made me see a world outside of where I grew up. So yeah, it was the biggest risk, but it was also the biggest gain.
What's the moment that changed everything for you?
I believe the moment that changed everything for me was getting a phone call from my childhood friend, Rodney Hampton, who was like, "Hey, I think you can do these celebrity basketball games like they're doing up in New York." And I'll never forget, it was the day after Thanksgiving, and I was dreading going back to my job at MHMRA. And he just said, "You can do it," and gave me a couple of celebrities' phone numbers and names. And I spent the entire day reaching out to people, and it just taught me that people are just people. And ever since then, it's been up from there. So the first celebrity basketball game, we had Salt and Pepper, we had SWV, we had Brian McKnight, R. Kelly, Usher, Chris Brown, Destiny's Child, the Ghetto Boys, Suge Knight, and almost the entire Death Row um, group. We had, gosh, I mean, the names are just too many to name. I can't even think of all the basketball players. Like I had Chris Webber and Juwan Howard and everybody who was in the height of their career. They came out so that we could raise money for the Rodney Hampton Foundation. And so it was just, I mean, nobody said no. Oh, I forgot about Flex and Lorenz Tate and all his brothers. Everybody. Let me just say, everybody.
What's the biggest mistake you've made and how did it redefine you?
Trusting someone too much. And it's a common mistake that people make, not just in this business, but in life. You can really lose yourself in placing your trust in someone more than you trust yourself. And the way that it redefined me is that it made me never question my own instinct. Like there is something inside of you that tells you what to do better than anybody else can. It's why I record myself talking to myself. It's something that I do on a regular basis because nobody can speak to me except God the way that I can. And I believe that when I speak to myself, that is God speaking to me. So that's how it redefined me. It made me listen to myself because betrayal, it can do one or two things. It can make you bitter or it can make you better. And in my case, I decided to let betrayal make me better.
What's something you've achieved that people said was impossible?
Probably my whole life. I feel like my whole life is one big impossibility if you were to look at, the fact that I was born in Fifth Ward, I was raised in Scenic Woods, I'm a church girl, I was slated to be an attorney. I went to high school for law enforcement and criminal justice. My degree is in criminology and correction. So I was slated to go one way, but I feel like the possibility of me choosing to do what I was passionate about was bigger than what I was, chosen to, kind of like what I was set up for. I did not go in that direction because I just let my passion, overtake what what my path was. And it may not work for everybody, but I can tell you for sure that what you're passionate about is what will drive you, and that's just kind of what drove me. And I believe the word impossible, like I think it was Loretta Lynn or somebody said, it's impossible. And so I live by that because I'm possible.
What's the most unexpected lesson life has taught you?
That betrayal, like in life you got to have one person that betrays you so heavily that you literally can't believe it, but you have to, you can't be an empath. You have to observe and not absorb. And I absorbed everything about that person's betrayal. And what I did was I just went and made sure that I saw where I allowed it, and I took responsibility for it, and I just let it make me better. I mean, betrayal is necessary in this life. If you think you're going to go through this life without having a grave amount of betrayal, you are betraying yourself. Like, betrayal is necessary. It is so necessary. And this person betrayed me so heavily, and they were older and they were wiser and they were more experienced, and they had betrayal down to a science. And so I'm very thankful for them. I thank God for them all the time because they taught me something that I didn't know. And so I just say that that's one of the biggest lessons in my life, is learning that people have the ability to betray you, and you have the ability to decide how you're going to process that betrayal. And I just decided to process it in a way that I just let it make me better, and I decided that I would never be that way towards anybody.
What's the advice you wish someone gave you earlier?
Maybe I think that they did give me this advice, but I just could not hear them at that time, was just to fully embrace who I was, to fully embrace to fully embrace who God made me be. I mean, like, I didn't need to be anybody else. Being me was more than enough. And so, it took some time for me to fully embrace, who I was. And I wasn't trying to be anybody else. I was just trying to capture who I was. And so I think that if I had listened and heard more of that, I probably would have, I don't know if I would have done things any different, because sometimes you might not need to fully embrace how great you are because your ego might get in the way. But I think that um, knowing that I had greatness inside of me and moving in that direction, I would have done something a lot different if I had heard that a lot more.
How important is your faith to you?
Let me see. So you want to talk about my faith? Is faith important to me? I believe this. I say faith without works is dead, but I also say work without faith is just as bad. And so I believe that a combination of faith and a combination of willingness to work is a perfect combination. I've never believed that I was waiting on God. I've always believed that God was waiting on me. I've always felt like there's a much greater power that I'm in agreement with to do everything that I've been able to do and accomplish. And I know for certain that every single thing that I've been able to do in my life, like, I was given a snapshot of it. And I just don't believe that God played no games. Like, I'm gonna show you something and then make it um, impossible for you to achieve. I feel like everything that He's shown me, every airplane, I feel like I can have my own airline. Every house, I believe I can have it. Everything that I've been able to set my sights on, I believe is possible for me. So my faith is one of the most important keys to any amount of success that I've had, because my faith has taken me to places that I didn't think I could go, and it's also kept me in places that I thought I'd never be. So I don't know anything except faith.
What's the one thing you want people to take away from your story?
Nothing is out of reach for you. The only thing that's out of reach for you is the thing that you don't reach for. And so you know I want to know what's stopping you. Like, who has told you that you cannot do it? And then that is the person or the thing to move as far away from as the earth is from heaven. Like, if you want to take anything from me, if you want to see a person who has probably overcome every obstacle with the exception of, maybe like some childhood trauma or something like that. I'm thankful that I never had to experience that, but I know people who did. So I walk with people in that. But man, for the most part, when you see me, just know that I am a picture of what other people would probably call impossibility. But in my mind, I am a picture of nothing but possibility.
What's next for you and why should people care?
Making sure that more doors are open for people who believe that they have not just sight, but that they have vision, and that they really want to not even duplicate things that have already happened, but I want to help people buy art and just elevate their financial portfolio. And I want people to go from owning one business to 100, and not from just buying one house, but to owning a whole neighborhood, and not just driving a car, but owning a dealership. That is my goal in life, is to really make sure. I'm working with somebody right now, and I want to see him buy his plane, and I want to see him buy a fleet of them and have his own airline. Because I think as a pilot, I mean, what type of pilot wouldn't have his own airplane? If you're a chef, why don't you have a string of restaurants? If you're an artist, a musical artist, then why don't you have your own label? And why aren't you nurturing other artists to do the same thing? And so, I mean, if you're a banker and you know money, why don't you have your own bank? That's the mentality that I have. So that's my goal in life, is to help people maybe supersize their dream, to actually help them get in a space where it's possible. And I think that people should care about that, because it it really helps to magnify and put some intensity into your purpose, and it takes you away from just you, and it helps you expand yourself to seeing and helping and blessing other people in their lives. And I think that for me personally, it doesn't feed my ego, because I'm hoping that I let go of my ego a long time ago, but I hope that it feeds my soul, so that it can help feed the lives of other people, and that our children don't have to keep starting from step one. Like, golly, y'all are not just, you're not supposed to be a burn up the trail. You're supposed to blaze it and clear it out, so that people behind you can walk through it just a little bit easier. And that's my goal. That's really my goal, is to make sure that I clear the brush out of the way, so that every generation behind me doesn't have to start, that they don't have to start over. I'm Tiffany Parker on Meeko TV, and as I always say, let your brilliance lead you to your billions.